Spoiler alert.
Go.
Okay, so WandaVision, you got Wanda and you got Vision. And then, but Vision's not like alive because he's dead, right? But we think he's alive because he's in the show with Wanda. And it's called WandaVision. But he's dead, sort of. But we don't know why he's alive. So we go through like 8 or 9 episodes thinking like, yeah, he's alive, but he's actually dead. And then they have kids somehow because it's warping reality, but they have kids. And then Quicksilver shows up, but it's not Quicksilver, but it is Quicksilver from a different dimension. But it's not because it's some dude that looks like the guy that played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies by Fox, but it's not actually
45
Quicksilver.
seconds.
But he's got all the powers of Quicksilver. And then there's a fight with Wanda and Agnes at the end, and Vision's white because he looks like he just got antiqued in the face with some flour, bag of flour. And then
Time. That was 1 minute.
it hurts.
All right, so if you haven't guessed, we are back. We are the Stub Club. I'm Brian.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Julia.
We are back for what we can consider season 4. Oh, Kitty. And so if you didn't guess what we were talking about WandaVision. And instead of doing show by show, since the season just ended, we're going to do a quick recap and even talk about episode 9, which is the newest episode that came out yesterday at the time of this recording. So we are going to go back and forth between each episode as Julia's dying. And
I'm so sorry. The cat, the skeleton. I can't work with this. It's too much.
so
It's Tom and Jerry.
honestly, that'd probably be better than the actual Tom and Jerry movie. So, episode 1, filmed before a studio audience. Wanda and Vision are basically in a Dick Van Dyke style TV series, black and white. The whole premise is that Wanda thinks that she forgot their anniversary, even though they're newlyweds. Vision is actually bringing home his boss and his boss's wife. And his boss's wife is played by Deborah Jo Rupp of That 70s Show fame. They do all the cool hijinks that you would see in the 1950s. It's actually really cool because it is filmed like it's the 1950s, where it's all black and white, and it looks like the house's fourth wall is cut out so you can see everything. You see the couches, kitchen, stuff like that. And she has to make this gourmet meal, and she's using all her powers to do so. It's almost like Bewitched-esque with how she's doing it. And in the middle of the show, there is a commercial for a Stark Industries Toaster Mate 2000, which actually somewhat comes up later on in the season. Near the end of the episode, it actually goes back to what you would see in a Marvel movie, because her husband, Deborah Jo Rupp's husband, his name is Mr. Hart, starts having like a heart attack, I believe. And
Stop
Vision
it. Stop it. Stop it.
Vision has to use his powers to help him, and as it's happening, Deborah Jo Rupp keeps saying help him, but she's smiling. And it's very creepy, very ominous, and the show actually ends as they leave and they go back into normal mode, or what could be considered normal for a 1950s sitcom.
Okay. So I have episode 2 called Don't Touch That Dial. And now it's in the 60s. And it starts off with Wanda and Vision hearing noises outside of their house. She goes and she looks, she doesn't see anything, right? She's like, oh, it's nothing. Or Vision goes and looks. And like, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. But Vision jumps back in the bed, and they're like in 2 separate beds. And then the beds get put together. So it's like one big bed. So they're preparing their magic act for the neighborhood talent show. And while all this is going on, Vision goes to the neighborhood watch meeting. And while he's there, he gets a stick of gum. And someone smacks him in the back, and he swallows it, and it binds him up, and he starts acting funny. Like he's drunk, sort of. But it's because the gum is stuck. And he goes to the magic act and does all these magic tricks, but Wanda ends up saving it by altering what's actually being seen so it looks like it's part of the act. Right?
Yes.
Right. And then they go home towards the end of the episode. And Wanda becomes pregnant. Just out of the blue, she's pregnant. And they hear a noise outside, and they go and they look, and they see a beekeeper coming out of the sewer. But it's not actually like a beekeeper.
That gets explained later on in the
But
series.
that gets explained later on. And then Wanda resets everything. So then it starts becoming colorized.
Yes.
And now it's going into the 70s because color TVs came around in the 70s.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, my turn. We are now then on episode 3. Episode 3 is called Now in Color. That is when you're in the 70s, and that show is based on the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family, and a little bit of Three's Company in the theme song that we get to see. This one is a lot of it is premised all around Wanda is pregnant, and it's happening super, super fast. And we get to see them getting their house ready, which their house is a lot like the Brady Bunch house with the staircase and a lot of the interior furniture and whatnot, and their outfits. And so her pregnancy is going super, super fast, but at the same time, just like how women have their raging hormones, her powers are all over the place, where you've got picture frames spinning, it's raining inside the house, you've got appliances turning on and off, you have a live stork that comes out of nowhere, you've got butterflies coming from the mobile, from the nursery. So all this goes on, and she's losing her sense of control, but it's like raging hormones. In this, we have Geraldine. Geraldine comes over to the house when Vision is outside talking to the neighbors. And when he's trying to talk to the neighbors like want to tell him something, like something's going on. And also that there's something wrong with Geraldine because she like doesn't have a house. So Vision is super suspicious. Inside, we have Geraldine and Wanda. And I probably jumped around by accident. Wanda is ready to have her baby. And so Vision has to go back to get the doctor that was just there earlier that day. And so when he goes to get her, Geraldine has to help deliver the baby. We never knew she was pregnant with twins.
Out pops the 2 babies.
Yes. Wanda gives birth to 2 baby boys, which they name
Billy and Tommy.
Billy and Tommy. And so when they are born, then Vision comes back with the doctor. They're so excited. And when he goes outside, I think that's what happens with the neighbors. All this goes on with Geraldine in the house, where Geraldine has a conversation with Wanda, and her twin brother Pietro gets brought up. When that gets brought up, Geraldine brings up Ultron. And it's a big deal because nothing has ever been brought up from anything outside of the Avengers world or anything in reality. So when that happens, it freaks Wanda out, and she gets rid of her, and there's a glitch.
And Geraldine says he was killed by Ultron.
Geraldine disappears. When she disappears, the screen changes now to widescreen format, which was awesome. And she dumps that into a field, and it ends by Sword coming to get her, and Daydream Believer is playing by the Monkees.
So I have episode 4. We interrupt this program, so we take it kind of outside of the town of Westview, right? So it starts with them showing everyone coming back, Dust coming back after the Thanos snap. So we get to see what happened once everyone reappeared among the chaos of that. And they show Monica Rambeau in the hospital, and like when she just reappeared and everyone's running around and it's chaotic. She then finds out that her mom had died in that time that she had disappeared. And they do show on a TV screen, there's a news thing that says Blip brings back loved ones. So that's where we're at. I think they mentioned that there's like 3 years that everyone disappeared. I'm pretty sure, like after the snap.
Yeah.
I
think so.
Then they go like into New Jersey. They show the town of Westview, and what's the officer? Wu is there. Jimmy Woo, and he's like, it's not a missing persons case, this is a missing town. And that Monica comes to meet him there, and they check out and they see like the force field there. Stop staring. I feel like you're sharing anything with my notes. Sorry. This is the part where they see the WandaVision like from the outside world, and they bring in Kat Dennings is what's her name?
Darcy.
Darcy. And
Taylor.
she's able to bring the broadcast on the TV, and they're like, what are we seeing here? Is that Vision? He's dead. And then they're saying, so the universe created a sitcom starring 2 Avengers. And she's like, it's a working theory. They identify like the real people in there who are the actors, and they stick them to the walls. This person's playing this character, and they're putting all that together. Jimmy Woo makes a comment, is this time travel? Is this an alternate reality? Is this a social experiment? And then Darcy says, it's a 1950s sitcom. It kind of brings back up to speed where the episode ended before about Monica's in there and she brings up Ultron, and then the broadcast had ended, and then the episode ends with Monica on the ground waking up saying, it's Wanda, it's all Wanda. And that's basically what happened in episode 4.
Ooh.
So I have episode 5, and it's titled On a Very Special Episode. We're back inside Westview, and it takes place in an early 1980s or 1980s, early 1990s sort of sitcom. I guess you can kind of put it like Full House-esque or
Family Ties.
Family Ties is also another good one. And it starts off with the boys crying nonstop, and then Wanda and Vision are trying their hardest to get it. We haven't really talked about Agnes yet. So Agnes comes in and says she can help take care of the boys. And when they're interrupted and when they're all distracted, Wanda makes them go to 5 years old. They end up getting a dog. And it's the whole sort of, you have to learn your responsibilities and how to take care of dogs and stuff like that. Sparky, as the dog's name, ends up running away while Vision is concerned with what's going on because he's starting to see there's more than meets the eye with this sort of city because everybody is just acting a little bit odd. And he reads an email from Sword, and then Sword sends a drone into Westview. As that's happening, Sparky runs off from the drone, and they end up finding Sparky dead, with Agnes holding him. And as that's happening, they're
He's just trying to hold it together.
as the show goes on, they end up going back to home, and they're letting the boys learn responsibility and what happens if the dog dies, and learning what happens with death. They have Vision and Wanda almost get into a huge fight where they're starting to use their powers and they're floating and stuff like that. And then they hear a knock at the door. Once the door opens, they see Pietro, but it's not Pietro from Age of Ultron. It's Pietro from the X-Men universe, from Fox. And they go outside of Westview, and Darcy there, and she says they recast Pietro. Why is she laughing so hard?
Oh no, I'm composed.
When you were talking about they get the dog and they have to learn responsibility for the dog, Brian, you know what I always think of the second saddest, like one of the saddest ever TV episodes that involve a dog?
What, Futurama?
Yeah.
Oh, you suck.
Sorry. Okay, so episode 6 is an all-new Halloween Spooktacular, and it's the late 90s / early 2000s, and it's sort of like a Malcolm in the Middle kind of vibe, where the one kid like talks to the camera and breaks the fourth wall, and no one else notices it, but Pietro notices it. Wanda takes the kids trick-or-treating because it's Halloween, and they discover they have powers because he's like, the kid straight up the block has the king-size candy bars. And like, okay, well, go quick. And so they run away and they get the king-size candy bars. And then there's like Pietro and the one kid like are running around like having fun with tricks and stuff. And then this is the episode where Pietro's like, oh yeah, it's not like they could kill him again. And then she like blasts him or whatever. and he goes flying backwards. Vision goes exploring because he notices something is off. So he goes exploring and he sees, like, the farther he gets away from Westview, the more frozen people are. Like, they're stuck in between doing something. Like, they're in the process of doing something, and then they just stopped for whatever reason. And then he discovers Agnes in her car at a stop sign. And he goes down, and she's just, like, sitting there. And he, like, releases her mind. Like, he touches her and releases her mind. And she, like, has a conversation with him. And I think she, like, sort of loses it a little bit. And then he, like, touches her, and her mind goes back to the reality that they're in. Vision goes through the wall, the giant red static wall, but as he's going through it, he's disintegrating, and then the one kid, Billy, senses it and tells Wanda, and then she expands the wall, and it sort of encloses around a bunch of Sword agents and Darcy and Vision, so now they're safe again, but it's bigger.
Turns them into clowns in the circus.
Yeah, turns them into clowns in the circus.
Okay, so now we are on episode 7, which is called Breaking the Fourth Wall. This episode is set in the 2000s in the format of Modern Family and The Office. And during this time frame, this is the last episode we see where it's an actual TV show. So the last theme song we get to see in the last WandaVision episode. And so during this time frame, Wanda is just losing it. She cannot keep control of anything that's going on. So you've got furniture changing from all the different decades, like remote controls for the video games. She can't even keep her correct clothing on. Everything's going like ridiculous with it, and she can't really keep control of it, and she's losing focus. So during this time frame, Vision is not even with them in the house, and the kids bring this up. Vision is off wandering by the border that now got extended, and he comes across Darcy. Darcy now is part of the whole WandaVision world. He gets a hold of her and snaps her out of it. She's not very startled as much because she knew exactly what was going on, and even stated, "Oh, I would have loved to be a part of the show, but I don't know, something like that." When Vision snaps her out of it, she's able to tell him a lot of information. So what really happened with Thanos? What happened with Age of Ultron? All of that stuff she explains it to him and what's going on and what Vision actually is. And that's when Vision does a bunch of these like Office, Modern Family type things where he's talking at the camera like, none of this is thrilling me right now. Like all of the obstacles I have to go through just get back to the dang house.
That was probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. Where he's sitting in front of the food truck. And,
what am I still doing here?
Yeah.
He takes his mic off.
Right. And so we all thought that Fantastic Four was going to get introduced with this to go to the
Astrophysicist?
Yes, we thought we were going to introduce this astrophysicist, however you say it. But no, it was just more people from the military or Sword, and they just give her this big armored truck to say, this is, a spaced armored truck. This is going to be able to go through the energy wall. It can't. It starts sucking it up and kind of almost turning into that energy. Monica says, basically, screw this. I can go through this myself. Since she has been inside, her cells have been changing. This was being shown in another episode when they tried to do x-rays on her. And Monica says, I'm going through, and she does. When she goes through there, this is when we get to see all these cool, like, scenes, kind of, and we hear a lot of dialogue. We hear Nick Fury, we hear her mother Maria, we hear Carol Danvers, we see her as a young kid, and it's going through this morphing stage through the energy field when then she develops her actual powers and becomes that being. When she gets over there, she confronts Wanda, and Wanda flips out over this, like, what are you doing here? You're lying. And when this whole fight happens, Agnes finds them outside, and Agnes takes Wanda with her. She already had the boys prior to that, I forgot to mention. Agnes has the boys at her house. when they get to Agnes's house, the boys are nowhere to be seen, and Wanda even notices, like, her sons, it's so quiet here. When Wanda asks, where are my kids at, Agnes says they're probably in the basement. When Wanda goes down to the basement, it turns in this whole, like, freaky woods, vines, stuff all over the place, almost like this, like, weird, creepy mansion in the basement. And dungeon, yes, in a sense. And that's when Agnes reveals she's Agatha Harkness, and we get to see this book that was down there. We get to see this whole mystical type of a chamber going on. From that's when we get the cue the it was Agatha all along. Who's been messing with everything? It's been Agatha all along.
That's probably my favorite theme song throughout this entire thing.
Yeah, it was
Because
good.
all they did was a Monsters reference.
Yeah, so we're on episode 8 now. So
Episode 8, previously on. So now following the last madness, which was probably just a case of the Mondays, though. Am I right? Had to do it. We start after the whole big Agatha reveal. We see the Salem witches. We're in the 1600s, brings us back to remembering the Salem witch trials, basically. This gives us the background of Agatha from centuries ago, bringing in her storyline, and how everyone said she used her powers for bad. We don't know how she got to the town where Wanda is. I've been wondering that. But anyways, we're back in the dungeon with Agatha and Wanda, and Agatha just really wants to know how Wanda was able to create this illusion, how she got people to follow those intricate storylines. How did she do it? She wants those answers. So she brings Wanda back to her childhood. She's like, in order to move forward, we got to go back. So we go back to when she was younger in Sokovia. With her and Pietro as kids with their parents. They show the really bad conditions of where she lives, like the just really bad violence outside. But here's where we get our answer of why this whole WandaVision was the sitcoms. The dad brings the suitcase, and you see I Love Lucy, Malcolm in the Middle, all those kinds. They watch, also Bewitched. They watch the Dick Van Dyke Show, and that was their way of learning English. So Wanda had this young connection as a child to those shows. So that's where they got this whole thing of creating.
And it was like that was like her happiness time with her family, that connection too.
Then all of a sudden, while they're watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, a blast happens and the bomb occurs where their parents get killed. And we see a Stark Industries like bomb or like a missile that set everything off. So that was a little Easter egg in there.
This is where the toaster comes in from the first episode because of the beeping red thing.
Yes.
The beeping red light, that's the toaster.
And then the next scene takes us showing Wanda with being a volunteer to go. They show the scepter with the Tesseract, which was really interesting. And everyone else who had made contact with it died. She goes in there and she touches it, and it comes out, then it turns yellow. It's the Mind Stone. And this interaction that happened is kind of what awakened Wanda's powers. So she already had them before. You could maybe say they were dormant, and her interaction and like touching and being around the Mind Stone just amplified them and awakened them. Later on, she's at the compound, the Avengers compound, with Vision. And it's cool because it's showing them kind of before they were really a couple. And she was depressed. It was after Ultron and after Pietro died. And her and Vision were there, and they were watching Malcolm in the Middle, which was really funny. After that, this is Vision's dead. You know, Agatha's going through, like, you lost your parents, you lost Pietro, Vision's dead, dead. She wants to go.
Dead.
She says all this loneliness, this constant, endless void. So
Jennifer's dark.
Yeah, right.
So now we're to the part where this is after like Thanos with everything and Vision dying, and now everyone came back. She wants to see Vision's body. but like Sword has him, I think.
Yeah,
Is that
Sword has his body.
She's like, I just want to see him. He deserves a proper funeral. I deserve a funeral. I'm his next of kin. Let me see him. She goes back. She meets Tyler Hayward, and he's like, okay, let me show you what you wanted to see. And like, this is traumatic. I was upset when I saw this. She peers through the glass and down, and all she sees is Vision's body parts spread across different tables. And she's like, what are you doing to him? And they're dismantling him. There's $3 billion worth of vibranium. And they're like, this is our legal and ethical obligation. We can't just hand over $3 billion worth of vibranium just to put it in the ground. She's just so traumatized by like hearing all the drills and like what she sees his head like detached. It's just so horrible. So she screams, break the glass. She goes down there and she, uses her powers to feel him, and kind of like from the very beginning when she did that to feel him. And it's so sad. She's like, I can't feel you. I can't feel you. And this is the part where the audience realizes that she did not steal Vision's body. They make you believe that the whole entire time.
Like a lot of other things.
But it was, it was misleading. She, in fact, did not. Later, she goes to the town. She has the map of where Vision said, like, the home to grow old in. And she takes her grief and channels it out with her powers. And that's how she creates the whole entire town, the illusion, and how Vision gets created from her. It was wild. And then it goes into the 50s black and white. He says, Wanda. And then he's like, welcome home. And then it's very pretty. And then at the very end of the episode, we're back with, Wanda and Agatha. She comes out. She's like this witch with her costume and like her makeup and hair is all different. She has the boys, and she says what Wanda has, she's a myth. She is chaos magic, and what you are is the Scarlet Witch. Boom.
So now we're going to talk about episode 9, since that did just come out yesterday.
As of recording this, it came out yesterday.
What's up?
As of date of recording, it came out yesterday.
This recording, it came out yesterday. The episode begins where it left off with episode 8. Agatha has her boys or Wanda's boys in basically a chokehold with her magic.
Like it just goes. Like it's like they just like, okay, pause and then play.
Yeah.
Like let's pause here and then start recording instantly.
And what wasn't mentioned because I didn't even know this until the very last episode, they had mid-credit scenes in the previous 2 episodes, like they actually did with Marvel movies. In the previous episode, episode 8, they actually go back to Sword and they see a white Vision. Yep. Literally just a white Vision. And he comes to destroy Wanda. They have a huge fight. Funny references from The Wizard of Oz when Agatha gets hit by a car.
Oh yeah.
And
by the boots.
In the fight, and you see her boots, and then what you see is Vision come up, and it is the real Vision, or at least as it'll become to explain, not the real Vision, but it's still his body. Then there's a whole huge fight. This is when the Marvel movies start up. Legitimately, this is where the Marvel movies climax starts up, because the entire first 20 to 25 minutes of this entire episode is just an entire fight scene.
Yeah.
Wanda versus Agatha. She plays her little mind trick, which is another reference back to Age of Ultron, because we really don't see her be doing that in any other movie or any reference of anything. And tries to play with Agatha's mind, but Agatha turns it on to her.
God, I love when they did that, like they're on top of the roof and she does that thing like she did Tony Stark, how she creepy
goes over
right behind her. Like damn, they got it.
So while that's happening, Vision and White Vision, so fake Vision from Wanda's
Anti-Vision,
mind,
if you will,
and White Vision That's his actual name from the comics, is White Vision.
Oh God.
Yeah. They're not having a physical battle, well, they were, but to end the fight, they have a psychological battle,
Yeah.
which is making it sort of a conundrum for this animatronic living thing. And it's the story of Theseus's boat or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Theseus' ship.
Go ahead, Mike, if you can explain it.
They're like, oh yeah, if you take all the old wood off and you put new wood on, is it still the ship? And they're like, no. But what if you take the old wood off and fix the old wood and put it back on? And he's like, yeah, it's the ship. Dude, like, I was so feeling this part, man. Like,
I had to go back and rewatch it to be like, what just happened? And then I rewatched it like, oh wow.
So the way that he explains it is that neither one of them are actually Vision anymore, because the Vision from the whole series that you've been watching is all a figment of Wanda's mind, because she still has a piece of the Mind Stone inside of her. And the actual Vision who comes up but is still animatronic and doesn't have any remembrance of what happened from Ultron until here. Yes, Mike.
you're supposed to. You're killing me with the hand.
Oh, sorry.
It's called Ship of Theseus Paradox, and in the metaphysics of identity, the Ship of Theseus is a thought experiment that raises the question of whether an object that has had all of its components replaced remains fundamentally the same object.
So it's almost a paradox with how it's explained. Basically, the new White Vision lets old Vision tap into his memories, and his eyes were almost stark white. They had a little bit of blue, the White Vision did. Yes. And once he opened up his memories from the data that he collected through the years of being a part of the Avengers and being in love with Wanda, he ends up flying away. So there's a probably pretty good chance that we're going to end up seeing Wanda again, or Vision again.
I feel
Which
like
Vision?
that, the way they had
Vision?
it.
Yes, White Vision.
Yeah.
And the whole battle with Wanda and Agatha is still going on.
Can I add to
Yeah.
that part? I was crying. I got so emotional when it gets to the point where Agatha makes all the town members remember, just like cuts off their axe and just makes them snap out of it.
Oh god.
And they all turn on Wanda, and when she can't take it anymore, she's like, leave, and she opens the wall and you see her children crumbling apart. It was the most traumatic thing ever. I was crying. I was like, we're 16 minutes into the episode and I can't even handle this.
They weren't feeling so good.
They were but what's really cool is that you see all the characters that have been in the show.
Yeah.
The one that's played by Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, they bring all of them back.
They bring all of them back, but what
the Wish.com version of Ross Geller.
They release all their minds so that they know what's going on, and that I think the most troubling part about this was that Wanda gets scared and almost kills all of them by choking them with magic, basically. And Deborah Jo Rupp, I love her. She's a great actress. She's been in a bunch of different things, and mostly sitcoms, but she's been in a lot of other good stuff. She says this line where, if you won't let us go, will you at least kill us?
Oh god.
These people have been tortured. In the Halloween episode, you can see people literally crying because
they're doing like the same thing over and over and over again. Oh yeah.
And the one woman who was actually supposed to be the rival of Wanda in the second episode,
Dottie.
She begs Wanda to let her daughter be a part of the episode. Basically, asks her to be a part of the episode, and the reason being is because she hasn't seen her daughter in however long it's been. So Wanda essentially is the villain of this entire series until the final episode. Agnes had this thing where there's this rule for magic where if you're in a room where runes have been written on the wall, the only
one who
person
casts the spell
yeah.
only gets to use their magic.
So while they're fighting in the air, because Agnes is trying to take the power of the Scarlet Witch from Wanda, she's able to absorb magic. Wanda is throwing magic past her, and while I'm watching this, I'm thinking, okay, she either has really bad aim or she was really tired.
She missed.
She missed, and she actually wrote runes on the walls on the outside.
So good.
God. Skipping further into the episode, because really you should watch this entire series. They even did a whole thing where before they showed the final episode yesterday, they went through the entire series, binge watching everything.
Yeah.
Just binge watch the entire series, because us talking about it's not doing it justice.
Definitely.
She ends up getting her actual Scarlet Witch outfit that you see in the comics.
It was so good.
Like, I've never seen a more comic accurate suit. And I've watched Superman from the 1970s. Captain America usually has a pretty good accurate suit. This is the most accurate suit I've seen from the comics, because of how dark it is, how almost pointy it is, how outlandish the actual suit looks. Because everything that you see in these movies is supposed to be somewhat realistic, even though you have a legitimate
It looks technologically inspired with every single costume that we've seen, and it looks modern and whatnot. But this costume looks like it's from the Salem witch trials and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looks like it got pulled straight from like a dark graphic novel.
I really don't want to talk about the ending credits and stuff like that, because you really should go and watch this, because that's one of the saddest moments I've seen in TV history.
I agree.
Like,
well, that's not part of the credits.
Well, the actual end and then the credits as well.
The ending was very depressing. I cried.
Me too.
Yes.
Did you cry, Mike?
No.
I
bawled my eyes out. I was like,
the ending credits gives Waylay to future movies and TV series, most likely. And this is supposed to connect to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Which is now called No Way Home.
No Way Home. They're capitalizing on this home thing.
So,
because he doesn't have any parents, he's an orphan, so he's got no way home.
God.
That was I'm sorry.
Boo.
They did so good with WandaVision, and the people who from the start were not wanting to watch it because they're like, we don't want to see these old-fashioned sitcoms. Those people, they judged it way too fast. This was excellent. Even the old stuff, I appreciate old sitcoms so much, so that was amazing. Down to the details, all these intertwining storylines. Marvel's never done this before. We've only had movies, and Endgame was our longest movie. This now, you could just say it's one whole big movie. It's long, and it gives us so much more depth to the characters, more background, awesome outfits and costumes. Even what they did for the Halloween episode, with having them wear all those costumes.
They did the classic episode. They did the classic costumes.
This was just so great, the whole series.
I watched episode 1 of this, and I'm like, this is weird. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. Like, it's a little weird for me. And then I watched episode 2. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I feel it. And then like episode 3, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm in.
It starts off very slow.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it's fun.
I judged it by the previews that were on TV. It kind of I was like, it didn't really make sense, and the preview original didn't do it justice, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it at first, and once, like, I believe 4 episodes were already out, 4 or 5, Jennifer's like, hey, why aren't you watching WandaVision yet? And I'm like, I'm not really interested. I don't know. And then I started watching it, and I had to give it past that first episode, and I was like, okay, this is good.
I think that's why they put 2 episodes out from the get-go.
Yeah, so when we watch Mandalorian, we know what we're getting. It's Star Wars. It's not.
Yeah, it's Star Wars and it's Mandalorian like
this
content.
Yeah, this is so the way that it started was so off-putting that it was so interesting to keep watching, because especially when they went to the part where Wanda or Vision has to save his boss from a heart attack, and they get really, really weird about it. And I think the toaster commercial really stuck with me because everything's in black and white except for the blinking red light. The red light.
If we're talking about the fake commercials they did, I like the watch commercial for the Strucker.
The Strucker watches. They have commercials going all the way up until the 8th episode, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first one was the Stark Industries toaster,
right,
where it has the blinking red light, which turned into the bomb. Then they have the Strucker watches, which is Baron Strucker, who was the he wasn't actually a Captain America villain. He was a villain for Hydra though, in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Third one is the Hydra soak bath powder.
Oh yeah,
and you see the Hydra octopus basically.
Yeah.
The fourth one is the Lagos paper towels.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth one is Yo Magic yogurt.
That's what it was.
And that's supposed to be where that kid looks like the life's getting sucked out of him. That's supposed to be like when Wanda was getting all of her powers sucked out of her.
Yes.
The claymation one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
damn.
Because if you remember from when the witches were getting their powers sucked out, they all turned gray like that kid did.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't pick that
Me and Julie
up.
are on the same page here. Like, I didn't even think about that.
And then in the final one is the Nexus antidepressants. And basically what that's about is it's basically telling Wanda that the world doesn't revolve around her, even though she's making it revolve around her. And that basically references in the ending episode how she releases everybody from their captivity and she can't control them.
So the Nexus is the Nexus is run by the Time Variance Police or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who they're guarding?
Who?
The Time Variance Police. They're guarding Loki.
Yeah. That's going into the Loki TV series.
Ooh,
it's connected.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's connected.
This show did so good of intertwining stuff too.
Oh yeah, the ending episode makes everything worth watching again.
Mm-hmm.
Like my next day off, I'm gonna sit in my TV room and literally watch the whole thing over and over again because it's that good.
So what if this is how they're gonna lead up to Kang the Conqueror?
That is so. There's theories that this is gonna lead up to Kang. This is going to lead up to Galactus as well because it's going into the multiverse. Yeah. There were theories that this is how they're going to introduce X-Men and the Fantastic Four. As
so many theories. Honestly, it was created out of this, and a bunch of them were wrong. But they might want us to think that we're wrong, and then later on in movies they'll get re-brought up and addressed.
Oh yeah,
they go
Kevin Feige is the smartest man in the world because people kept watching because they thought, oh, Professor X, oh, Reed Richards, all this stuff. And Pietro wasn't even actually Pietro.
But do you think he could be the person that was in the witness protection program that they never addressed?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Kind of. Well, the funny thing is they actually show what is his name again? I know his last name Boner.
Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner. Instead of him being actually Pietro. And they actually find a headshot of him that he is actually an actor in real life.
But that could be his witness protection program.
It could be. There's so many things where I still think that Captain America messed up the timeline so bad that we're going to get alternate realities again for Kang the Conqueror and all that stuff.
Could be true. Because look what Barry Allen has done to the timeline.
Sorry,
that whole other universe.
I haven't finished The Flash. Or Arrow.
I haven't finished The Flash. I'm seasons behind.
I just brought that up because Barry always messes up the timeline.
Legends of Tomorrow. Daredevil on Netflix.
We probably
Punisher
should
on
wrap this thing
Netflix.
up, guys.
So let's quickly go over some of the Easter eggs that we found in these. In the very first episode, there's tons of them, like how Wanda mentions that her husband has an indestructible head, referencing how Thanos basically took the stone out of his head.
Oh yeah. And then
They have
the Vibranium with the kids.
Oh, later on she says that when everything's going crazy and she's depressed and she's in her like pajamas, she's like trying to explain things to her kids and they kind of look traumatized. We're like, what do you mean kill dad a second time? And she's like, then she tells the audience, well, they'll be okay. Their father's made of vibranium. They literally have like a thick skull.
Yeah. They do new intros for every new episode that takes place in Westview. So the very first one is the Dick Van Dyke Show. Then they do
Bewitched.
And then they go into Almost Family Ties, kind of. Then
No, Brady Bunch was next.
oh yeah,
Brady
Brady
Family
Bunch.
Ties.
Then it was
Malcolm in the
Family
Middle.
Ties.
Then Malcolm in the Middle. Then Modern Family.
Mm-hmm.
And the house has changed. The house is modeled after each era.
Yeah, it said that the house changes all the time. There's a whole bunch of references. They reference the Sorcerer Supreme in the final one, which basically mentions Doctor Strange.
And people are saying, I want to say if this is the correct thing, by them bringing that up, it's showing that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is technically canon.
Yes.
I never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I only watched part of Carter, but they said that people did not know if after a while if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was even canon because of what they were doing. Now they said because of this, they think it is canon.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is technically canon because it actually gets affected by Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon.
Okay.
It was getting weird there for a second, but now they're saying it's canon again. They reference Captain Marvel, of course. They reference the Scarlet Witch, all that stuff, and she turns into the Scarlet Witch. They're finally giving her the name Scarlet Witch instead of Wanda Maximoff.
Thank you.
I think the coolest thing about this entire show is that everything red in this show is weird.
Yeah.
Everything in the show that you see is red is weird. The boy in the commercial that's getting his soul sucked out of him basically is wearing a red shirt, if I remember correctly. The blinking red light, which turned to the bomb.
The drone that came in was red.
Yep. Red is a prominent color that basically means bad things are going to happen. Because Wanda is wearing red, she is the bad thing that's happening. And everything else that's happening around her is basically not good. Right. We're going to do our ratings now because we've been going for a little bit. I have to give this a 10. 10 out of 10.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10.
It starts off slow. It gets way, way good in the middle, and then it gets even better at the end.
Yeah.
So this what's up, Mike?
Oh, for sure. I agree strongly.
They were a genius with this.
Oh yeah, by far. Kevin Feige's rolling in the dough right now.
It makes me super excited for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh God, yes.
And we're gonna try to do an episode by episode review of Falcon and Winter Soldier as well, so that we're not doing this. Same with Loki, and probably same with Mandalorian season 3 for me and Mike. Anyways, guys, we appreciate it. We are very happy to be back. Like, comment, subscribe. Go to our Facebook. Go to our Instagram. We're glad to be back, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.